Here
Yeah.
we go. I'm going to record this. Okay, great. So my name is Kevin Clark from Dakar, and I've assembled a group of folks together who are going to have a conversation about trying to create a plan and a strategic understanding of what can we do to take advantage of the opportunity zone known as the Crenshaw Corridor for media, tech, sports, and entertainment at large opportunities, primarily for people in the Crenshaw Corridor, but obviously people who want to work with us. That's what we're doing as a call to action to see if we can get people, again, a center of what we can offer as a plan of attack. And so I wanted to start with an introduction of a gentleman that I met through Lemur Walker about a month and a half ago. And he's a person who's fully capable of bringing some of the media and tech perspective on what could happen in the Crenshaw Corridor. So Ed, Bernard, can you introduce yourself to General Bray, and you talked to Keisha yesterday.
Yep, absolutely. Good to meet you again, General Bray. And hey, Keisha, great talking with you again. I'm excited really to hear more from both of you because I was, again, we talk about projects like these, like we always want to work on, if we can, whenever we can, passion projects. And so this is something that's that for me. The ability to work with people that have really not only made a mark, but have a passion for what they do in their respective industries, like both of you and Kevin as well, but then also have a vision of where they fit and what they can do to help move the conversation forward. And I can say that on this call, especially for our folks, like continually try to move the conversation forward. And then in terms of with you, General Bray, one of the things Kevin has mentioned is sometimes it's not just moving the conversation forward, it's going back to go forward to make sure that the discussions and the narratives are accurate and that they are inclusive of all of the voices that were impacted or have made an impact. My background is in originally in TV commercial, music video production. Then I moved into more corporate video. I did a little bit in film, short features, but I've mostly been recently over the last 20 years engaged in helping brands talk about themselves, creating live events, some virtual events. We've all kind of gone to virtual, but using different mediums to talk about self, make connections, hear back from, when it comes to corporations, hear back from those that are their advocates, but also those that they are trying to convert to advocacy or just convert to their products. And then just basically talking with their different communication chains, whether it's internally, their different employees, management, or sales chains or whatever. That's kind of where I've been over the last 20 years. So I don't know if that paints a good enough picture, but
man, it gets us started. It gets us started because you are a unique person to my my sphere of influence. I don't know that I know very many strategists, and when I looked at your background as well as the company you work for, it says you guys are not an agency. You're a strategy company that works with.
Well, we have to be very careful not to paint ourselves as an agency because we do a lot, mostly tier 2 work to actual agencies, and they're very, very protective, and they're very, very yeah. So they want to know that we work for them, and we're not trying to actually work around them to get to their clients, the blue chip clients that they have as tier 1 agencies. So
great. And so, so I don't think we need to introduce Keisha and General Bray, but what I want to do is set the table by saying that it's my hope that we can leave this conversation planting the seed to create a plan of what we can and can't do with the time frame we have to put together a plan or a task force that wants to create a plan for a media-centered opportunity zone plan, something that could allow us to have that conversation, connecting with people who want to share in the vision, the operation of a real, opportunity zone, and whatever that really means to the folks that have some resource to add. And so, if you can, Keisha, can you explain to us what are some of the opportunities as well as some of the pratfalls that are before us to try to get something accomplished today?
And then really quick, sorry, Keisha, I didn't want to just jump in, but I wanted to give you a heads up, Kevin. Remember, I mentioned my friend who's a production designer and a producer, Clarence Major. He couldn't make it right at 3 o'clock, but he should be joining the conversation in about 5 minutes. So if you see Clarence Major pop up, can you let him in?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you.
Yes.
All right, Keisha, sorry about that.
No worries. Sorry, just getting home. So let me at the outset explain, because I'm going to be a little bit crazy today. As much as I love doing this work, I just want to be real clear. My first obligation, I think most of you will get this, is as a mom, and I'm a single parent. So that means I do a lot of stuff. All of that to say I'm running around because my daughter emailed her application for my sorority, and then they said they need the real copy. So I'm running in my house looking for that so I can put that in the mail and send that down.
Okay.
Not sending that.
Well, do you need to borrow a little time, because I can actually start with Jen O'Bray until you get all the things you need for fulfilling.
Yeah, if you don't mind starting with that. But then the other thing, Kevin, what I don't want us to do, and I've told you this before, I don't want to spend a lot of time. We do a lot of introductions and reintroductions. I see. What I really want to do is, Kevin, we're here because you asked us to be here. So leverage us, tell us what you want, and let's talk around the subject. Let's put an action plan in place.
Okay, that's fair. That is absolutely fair, because I do have an ask of all of you guys to try and create some movement towards the discussion I'm having that dovetail what we talked about yesterday, is having a potential partner join us in being able to put some resources as well as just to put their name on the line for being in that Crenshaw Corridor. So I think that's what I'm trying to get accomplished today. Keisha, can you listen? Then I will kind of set us, up for the.
I'm listening.
Yeah. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to have some task force that says that we do have interest in impacting the Crenshaw Corridor. I know that the impact that I'd like to have is on creating some student outcomes or some young people who are identified as people who want to get the training and desperately need the exposure and the access to the media, career, sports, and entertainment opportunities that I know exist. I want to now focus on the Crenshaw Corridor existing people who have an interest and are willing to be, as some people have coined it, the coalition of the willing to make that happen. I know that is not as maybe as tangible to some people in the opportunity zone, because it's my understanding it is more about business. But I want to be the part that provides opportunities for those people who could benefit from any of those things that happen inside of the Crenshaw Corridor. And so for Vermont's Lawson Economic Development Corporation, I'd like to submit myself for qualification to being a resource. Everything we do is mentorship, is underpinned by mentorship. So I don't know what we can offer in terms of specific training or narrative, but we're here to help. So my ask is to make sure that we don't get left out of the table, from the table of participating in what we can do to impact existing efforts. And so my goal really for all of you guys is to figure out how we can put something that I can share with JP Morgan Chase. That's my goal.
So let me push it a little bit further, Kevin. One, there are a whole lot of folks who have impact and influence along the Crenshaw Corridor, starting from Slate Z, the business improvement districts, Vermont Lawson, et cetera. The other thing is with the opportunity zones, that's really talking about a tangible asset. So I want you to think about, and I don't want to create your vision for you. You seem to be focused on the entertainment industry and STEM training. For the opportunity zone, then what I want you to think about is, are you in fact asking, can we set up some sort of lab and a fixed space to do that training along the Crenshaw Corridor? And that perhaps is the ask to the banking or to the folks with the money for the opportunity zone capitalists. In other words, this is your idea. I want to train folks from these neighborhoods to be able to do X, Y, and Z, ultimately leading to jobs at this place. This is what I need. I need funding for a location there, funding for the equipment. Something, they have to invest in a tangible asset.
Okay. Okay. And that tangible asset has most likely been real estate, a building.
Yes.
So then also, if I can jump in, Kevin. So Keisha, just so you know, I just talked with Kevin about this a couple of days ago. So as I had mentioned, I'm with the company xism.net. We actually have a second pass of a plan for an opportunity zone. And so what I do need to do, and thank you for sharing this information. What I wanted to do is make sure we get all of that from you, so I can go back with Kevin and share with him kind of what, we have all of it broken out as far as properties, assets, as far as if we're going to talk about like trucks and lighting and gear and equipment, hard property versus just, and then we also have talked about co-working space, but then it's the training and kids and bringing in educators and the like. So this is good that you're bringing up all of these points that we need to hit if we're going to get in play for funding for an opportunity zone business.
Yes. And what I'd like to do is again, I seem to be the tail and not the head of what would be qualified as a opportunity zone element. Again, since we don't have a plan, at least I don't have a plan until we collaborate with someone who does. I don't have a physical space in mind to move all of our training and efforts, because most of everything we do and have done has been online. So we're in the cloud. And so that doesn't, I guess, translate into an investment opportunity for most people. In most people's mind, there is some hardware and some infrastructure that we need to make sure that is operational inside of a particular geography. But for most of it, it's just the World Wide Web for us to be able to push all this information, this training, this access to students in a particular location. So that is maybe problematic because I know if we don't have as much value as other people who are trying to work inside of the geography, but we still offer that as a value to anybody that's trying to bring resources into Crenshaw Corridor, or to bring the training of the students out into the places, especially that don't provide access to the students to look over the shoulder and get real exposure to those things. And when I looked at the Best Buy Team Tech Center press releases, I looked at a lot of the media companies who've signed up to be part of the training or partnering with them. And I didn't see anybody that had any experience in delivering, and I call it OTT, delivering the broadcast over-the-top television programming and services that I wanted to bring in with Lyle. So Keisha, I don't know if that is something that's too off the radar screen for people to imagine that is something that could become a value add to the physical geography of Crenshaw.
Kevin, I agree. It's a value add from the programmatic element. I don't see the nexus with an opportunity zone play unless you're talking about a building.
Right. And I think, Kev, so what would be good, Kev, I think, is like the value. I'm just suggesting the best use of this time is just let Keisha kind of go down, and I'm sorry I interrupted, go down the list of those things that we should think about if we're thinking about opportunity zones. And I think she has a lot that she can give us in the short amount of time that she has.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Well, yeah, because Clarence has joined the call, so I don't know if you want to do a brief intro to Clarence as to who Keisha is, and let him again try to catch up to speed to where we.
Yeah, look, I think what we'll do is like we'll wrap back. Clarence, I already kind of told everyone that you're a production designer and a producer. But then Keisha actually has made a point that she's trying to, like, you know, we all have kids. Clarence has kids, I have kids. So she's kind of up against it a little bit. So what I'd love to do is turn it over to her to kind of give what she has in making the time for this meeting. And then at the back end, when we have time, then definitely give you time to kind of talk a little bit about yourself, if that's cool with everyone.
That's perfect. Yeah, sure. That's
All right.
perfect.
Right.
And
Okay,
that works for me. I don't have too much more to say. I think what at the end of the day, what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to help Kevin narrow it down in terms of what it is you're looking for, Kevin. You know, we've been around this path a little bit. You're so brilliant. You've got so much to offer, but we got to get away. So you tell me what it is. I like the thing that you had presented the other day that I told you, fine, I can take that back. Clarence, for your information, I have a day job, but one of the other hats I wear is as president of the Vermont Slauson Economic Development Corps. And we actually have the contract with the Best Buy, the Teen Tech Center that we're building. And as I explained, I think to everyone, with a lot of grants, folks may or may not know what happens is you get capital dollars to build it. You don't really get operating dollars to run it. So as you look around to identify operating dollars from philanthropic or from banks or others, or even potentially what Kevin has, and I told him, I said, what you offer is unique, it's different, but how are we going to fund that? I know walking in, I can't identify a source of funding internally. What I can tell you we have is we'll have a place, we'll have young people, but to implement your program, now we have to go out and find someone who's got operating dollars, who likes the vision, who likes what we're doing, and is saying, hey, we're willing to fund that portion of it.
Right. Well,
that makes
Keisha,
sense. And I think that, Kevin, you've talked to me a little bit. So that's why I think that we do need to offline talk a little bit more. Originally, when you talked a little bit about Santa Monica Community College and some of the other connections that you have, and that you're basically getting invite into those colleges to build these programs, there's a way to pull all of those pieces together. All of them have satellite campuses for sure. So there's a way, based on what Keisha's saying, there's a way to work that out. What we need is an initial blueprint, right? And then I think, like Keisha's saying, then there's a piece that she can help with. There's a piece that Jordan can help with. There's all these pieces that have to come together. It's kind of a broad base or coalition, as you mentioned, of people that have to come together for these opportunity zones, right?
Right. Right. So Keisha, here's what they asked, because there's a problem, and I'm trying to find a solution for it.
Okay.
So we've been offered a space to work, plan, produce product, meeting programming, and all of the things that we can do to get on the board inside of JP Morgan Chase. I know that that's not a physical place that would allow anybody to say, hey, well, let's invest in it, but it's one of the things that we have been offered. And we have been reluctant to take the keys to the building and do anything in there, because we don't have the resources, and especially financially, to pay all the trainers, to pay for the students who want to come from some of the areas that are not in the Crenshaw Corridor to participate in it. So what is offered by the JP Morgan Chase people is, can they find some of the businesses that the students could work with and deliver services for, and those students that would be, let's say, close, or would be able to even take a bus or even walk to JP Morgan Chase, we don't know them. So we're trying to figure out if there could be an existing partner who could identify some people even before the doors of the Best Buy Teen Tech Center opens up. Can we find some of those people who could qualify?
Yeah, and you don't even have to do the Best Buy Tech. So remember, with the South LA Transit Empowerment Zone, we've got 5 different initiatives. One of them is education. The other is workforce. Sitting around that table for both of those are either schools or resource providers with a direct connect to students in underserved areas.
Right. And in your case, you're looking specifically for people between the age of 14 to 24 for Best Buy Teen Tech Center, but they have people who may be older.
Right.
And
On the
again,
workforce side, especially.
right. And so one of the things we also offered, and this was before we had the conversation Monday, we talked to Jordan about a way for our students from Santa Monica, Cal State Northridge, to be trained so that they could actually deliver services to small and medium businesses in the Crenshaw Corridor. So, I mean, to get very technical, they would be trained on how to create a digital content strategy for these businesses, or create a digital footprint or
so
spin.
I like it, but here's why I don't like it. What I don't want it to be is like you are shipping in folks to come and help those in South LA instead of growing what is there already. And I'll be honest with you, I get your concept, but I'm going to hold on to my South LA hat for that. Is the problem that they have, and a problem a lot of other areas have, is you bring in folks from the outside to do work we can already do here if we had that same opportunity. So unless you're able to tell me that folks from CSUN and other places have roots in South LA, and then that's a different story. Just like when DWP does recruiting for engineers, we've been telling them, no, go to the HBCUs because they have roots back here. We're trying to identify folks that are local and are willing to come back and work. I love the idea of helping those small businesses, but truth be told, he doesn't have to do it in South LA. He can take that same model, being Jordan, and do it up in the valley. And there are lots of businesses around there that can be helped, and there are other groups, and I'm happy to connect you with my connections up there. But if it's in South LA, my preference is that you draw us from South LA to help South LA businesses.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. It's community based. So that the fundamentally opportunity zones are about, it's about those communities that have been identified by the various governors in all of these different states. So
Right.
you know,
Keisha, I think
and
you're
local
spot on.
officials.
So,
Yeah.
Keisha, I think you're spot on. Is what I've heard from Jordan collectively when he's spoken to us and individually, that it is all about that geography, those zip codes. And so what I will tell you, the people that are currently working for me as students are working for me. My ability to work inside of the zone, my mother lives on Crenshaw and Slauson on Victoria. So I could actually apply and be a business working inside of the Crenshaw Corridor with her address, because I spend most of my time there and I work on my laptop right there. So literally the people who are people that I think you've met a couple of my students who would be the people who would help to provide the peer-to-peer mentorship for any students 14 and 24, because they're 23 and 24 themselves. And that's one of the things I think is unique about my offering, is that I've got some people who are capable of setting up a camera, you know, some streaming device and software, and being able to port out any content to the rest of the world, and be able to have the training connect to all of the mentors and all of the trainers and all the influencers who are different parts of the world. So they don't have to come into Crenshaw if they cannot at that moment, but still be able to have impact and delivery. And that's really what I'm trying to make sure, is that we're not limited to having impact on those 14 to 24-year-old students by, you know, again, just making sure people can drive into that area. We can reach them. We can have outreach to all of those resources everywhere. And I think some of the Cal State universities and the community colleges, they do offer course credits. They do offer exposure and curriculum that we can still bring into Crenshaw. So that's what I look at.
That's cool.
You know,
That's
the
cool.
relationship to those universities, institutions, and resources.
I get that. The only thing I want you to be mindful of, Kevin, is especially if he's doing it as a grant or something else, look at the reporting requirements and the residency requirements of the participants, because they will track that.
Okay, that is good to know, because I want to be very specific to the things that will help me scale and grow. Whatever success we have, I want to be able to make sure that happens.
But
So,
it's simply then Kevin started off as a pilot in Crenshaw, but you're gonna have to gather your resources from there, being the raw resources, being the people and the businesses. And I can help you with that. But if you
okay.
really want to scale it, start it there. but be true and starting it there.
Right. Okay. So, and this is just a case where I heard you say that your wish is to make sure that none of these opportunities, none of these events and activities that are getting ready to happen, specifically for the people in the Crenshaw Corridor, runs over or around those people. And yesterday there was, or not yesterday, Thursday, I am an advisor with the California State University Entertainment Alliance. And I know Ed is an alumni of Cal State Northridge. This organization that I'm with, they had a webinar for all students who wanted to partake in the Super Bowl. And they had a party planner who was a vendor talk about how that they could bring in managers, fee for service, to work with the Super Bowl and handle some part of their contracting. And I didn't see anybody on the call that looked like us.
Mm-hmm. And you're
So-
right.
So I know for the Super Bowl, for the All-Star game, NBA All-Star game, Major League Baseball is coming in, but that's in East LA. But even the Olympics, I don't know if we could help, but I want to very specifically look at sports and not just entertainment, not just film and TV, but sports is an area that we have
So
a lot
that,
of.
Kevin, put on your for-profit hat. I'm very familiar with this. This is an issue for supplier diversity that I've worked around from the mayor's office and other places in dealing with the Olympics as well as the NBA and everybody else. And typically what those entities will do is, let's say the All-Star game is in February. In January, they'll supposedly have a minority supplier development event to recruit. And it's all show. But there's a process and a way to get in to be one of their vetted suppliers. And then you can go to say, I want to do something real. And there are folks, but that is your for-profit hat, Kevin. That's not your nonprofit hat.
Right. And I know at this point I have to be more business and strategic than philanthropic. So my first order of business is to try and make the attempt to Crenshaw everything at this point for my relationship with JP Morgan Chase to even take birth. So that is a real opportunity for me to put something on the board. And what we're really attempting to do is that my wheelhouse right now in terms of media opportunities and opportunities that I own and control are with military storytelling. So that's why I invited General Bray on the call. So our attempt right now is to put together a series of military storytelling events, starting with Veterans Day, MLK, oddly enough, MLK, tying MLK's impact with the military, all of Black History Month, Diversity Month in April, all the way to Memorial Day. And so this is our chance to get calendar dates where we can take all of our strong suits and start to put it out there as content where students can work with us, watch over their shoulder as we start to plan and produce real commercial product so that we can tell our story. And some of that is that we want veteran-owned businesses. We want people who have some affinity with the military to be part of that programming. So it's not for everybody, but it's at least for the people who have an affinity for it.
And that's fine. And there are enough of the military businesses down there. But again, I'm still trying to understand. So Kevin, you put together a program, you got the space over at JP Morgan Chase, you're training the young people or whatever we're going to call them, how to do commercial storytelling, how to film, how to do X, Y, and Z. So that means your target audience of small businesses will really be limited to those military businesses there. Because at the back end, the military storytelling is great, but let's say that I'm Keisha's shop and I sell widgets and I'm a disabled vet. What are you doing for me on behalf of JP Morgan Chase? Because if JP Morgan Chase is smart, they're going to say, Kevin, I want you to agree to your students to put together either a social media space for them, an ad space, or something else. So the student gets something and that small business gets something, and Jordan and company are patting themselves on the back. Look at how good I did.
Yeah, that's the win-win-win that we're looking for. I mean, again, it's the analysis of what that business needs that our students with training can provide. And the result is that we've done something to create an extension to what that business didn't have, what they said they needed. And even the things they said that they needed, that they don't even know maybe what they don't need, we can still do some analysis to figure out what we can do to help them. And that's really what I'm hoping, is that the net is that we're producing a result, a tangible, manageable, measurable result to a business. And so at the end of the day, we did electronic press kit, because some of them have websites, some of them don't. Some of them have video on
Okay,
their
so I
website.
like that. So you're saying you're going to build an electronic press kit for X number of businesses using these, however many students you get in there. What I'm trying to get you to get to are metrics. So at the
Right,
end
so
of
we
the
have-
day,
Yeah. So
This
we
is what
offered
we're
Jordan
doing.
5 businesses. We offered him, he was ecstatic when we said, can you give us 5 businesses that are in the Crenshaw Corridor? He said, I got them. So whoever those businesses would be, when we hope that he have ones that we could, embellish their digital footprint, so that we could actually start to really have impact and
you tell him,
extend.
okay, but did you tell him, Jordan, really what I need are 5 businesses with some sort of military tie? That's a different story.
No, but that was for the longer term. But I think what we had for the opportunity for Veterans Day is to do some type of programming with the students, but tie in a veterans-owned business, to tie in veteran students who worked with us.
Let's
as
start small. Let's just
Mhm.
figure out one pilot project, then you can scale up, because you're doing a lot in a lot of places and I'm confusing myself.
Okay, so you're saying just, again, agnostic of the content of the business, find the 5 businesses that he selects, or let's say that you guys have 5 businesses that are looking for an electronic press kit and don't have one. Our students could provide free and valuable services to them.
And see, that part helps. So your students at the end of the day will produce an electronic press kit for 5 businesses. And that's going to be success to Jordan. What I want you to be, and this is where partnerships may come in with us or other places. A lot of the small businesses, to be real honest with you, Kevin, couldn't tell you what an electronic press kit was to save their life.
Mm.
There's a lot of technical assistance that your group isn't going to be able to provide. So we have to have one of the business development centers, it could be ours or someone else, SBDC, that'll do that warm handoff when they're ready. Because you don't want to do a press kit for someone who's got nothing to sell
Exactly.
or
Well, that's
isn't
why
able
we're,
to handle
yeah.
the bandwidth.
You're
of the
absolutely right. You're absolutely right. That's why our ask is to find people who have some understanding and value of a website, and what they have is a digital strategy or a digital need or ask. Because if they don't have that, then they won't understand the value of what we're trying to do for them. So it's not just any 5
How long
businesses.
does it take you to come up with the, I'm sorry, go ahead, Clarence, because I'll keep talking.
I just, just to kind of give you a Reader's Digest version of who I am. Ed and I go way back, and we've produced and directed a lot of things together. And so I'm primarily a production designer, working in all areas of film, commercials, TV, and Ed and I come from commercials. I've done 800 commercials, so I love what you're saying. I love where you're going, Kevin and Keisha. I think, and I don't know, I'm just coming sideways into this whole thing, but I see a lot of win-wins in a sense that Ed and I talked about a little bit before, and we were kind of brainstorming on kind of, looking at a big picture and a small picture kind of concept of how to, take all the resources that you have, the military resources and the production resources, and create opportunities with an opportunity zone. So, Ed, I don't want to step on your toes too much here. Is this?
No. Go ahead and jump in, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, I think, ultimately, the stories that you have and you have access to haven't been told. And I think that is kind of valuable. That's valuable in the sense that all the military voices that haven't been able to be expressed is a commodity, And so that, I think, is kind of the energy or the place where it becomes not only a monument and kind of a historical place or a museum, if it's kind of in the, within the opportunity zone, the building itself. But then that's really just kind of the backdrop of how, that becomes kind of a, where teaching can happen both virtually and physically. And the veterans can learn and become teachers or students. And the idea of promoting using, whatever this technology, whatever the production education component is, the thing to have them make promos, have them make commercials, have them learn how to make the websites, do TikTok videos, do Instagram, run someone's e-commerce, set a web page, a website up, have them do the e-commerce part of it, use the community that's right there. And so education becomes the glue that brings them in, and the promo is always part of it. But the backdrop is to pay homage to all your veterans. They store all their things, it's a museum, and that becomes kind of, veterans can learn, veterans can be teachers, we're telling veteran stories, teaching the community how to do a promo through the veteran story, and promoting your veteran-owned businesses and doing their websites. But Ed and I were talking about a way to kind of promote it is to do it as a virtual thing, to kind of, it's an event that kind of demonstrates what you have. You have these stories in these rooms. I don't know, Ed, you want to jump in about what we're talking about?
No, I think
that's too far.
No, I think that it's
you're going,
good.
Man.
Yeah.
And let me do this because I
Yeah,
want
go
to
ahead.
do
Jump in.
General
Go ahead.
Bray as part of this because
Yep.
what we've been working on in parallel to any of the training and the exposure and the developing of all the skills to help the students become a student agency, if you will, to help these businesses, is that I'm a business, and I'm a business right now. It's promoting the assets, the content that as a business working in Southern California, I am trying to create a way to honor and pay homage to these warriors, to these Black patriots. And so I am only 1% of all the people out there that are trying to make money, trying to educate, trying to promote something. But I could definitely be a case study or a pilot project. And that's what I want everybody to know, is that I'm not, just a nonprofit guy out here. I'm actually trying to get something done because we have assets that are not going to ever be exploited for this particular gentleman who owns and curated all this stuff. If we don't help him, he is not going to get his just desserts. He has all of the things stored in 30-foot facilities, and he wants to get them out in the marketplace. And so with that, General Bray's introduced us to an opportunity in Las Vegas. I don't know if it's an opportunity zone, but it's an opportunity to warehouse all of his stuff, his physical assets that have been in every major mainstream museum, Black museum. But we're trying to tell a story of what this gentleman has and what we can do to help him. So General Bray, can you add anything to this campaign that we're trying to create and not just tell stories?
Okay. Let me
We can hear you. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
let me say this. One is I'm going to be a content provider, okay? And my content that I'm trying to provide, it has a purpose. I've covered it multiple times with all of you, I think, at some point in time, except the last gentleman. It is about making it is content that is focused specifically on making sure that young people know that they belong, know that there has been, from the very first bullet, investments in this nation that have been made by people like them of color. Important. Because my first belief in opportunities, and reinforced by some others, and we'll bring others in, is that once you know that you're not breaking through the ice yourself, you tend to run to the door with less apprehension. You try a little harder because you know you can get through the door. You know the door has been opened. Too often right now we're finding ourselves thinking that we don't belong. B, I'm the first person to do this. And so you tell them, no, you damn well belong. As a matter of fact, you've been in the house. This is not new. And so the investment of the military gets a chance to show you, one, where you are, and then tell the stories of the military where there's valor that has been involved. In fact, one of Kevin's things is victory by valor. And Kevin, don't get sidetracked, but that's one of the stories that there is. In other words, it leverages, each segment should be a different version of the military. Doing it on Veterans Day is for everybody. That is a focused everybody celebration day. And it's a celebration this time, a celebration in Black, so they can see themselves. But then during the course of the year, we exposed them to other events with military participating, and we show sports figures. Like, half the people don't know that the early years of the NFL championships, all those a percentage of the guys playing in those championship games, because we're the Super Bowl yet, were military guys playing football. And then you got the other guys who made the world and this nation cheer, that were soldiers, and made them join. And the reason why is because, one, it was an avenue. Hell, most of Watts was based upon World War II veterans coming back and moving west, getting away from the South to start anew in a place where the mafia hadn't taken hold and Jim Crow didn't know its place.
Right.
But we tell the stories differently. And I said, because one, I'm a soldier. That's what I know. That's what I've done for 35 years. But I try to make it so it's a different. I changed the tenor in telling it, and then with Tony Powell as part of it, we even tell we tell another story. We tell the story this time of how the soldiers changed the African American picture. Watch this. In the West and the East, and then you tell the story that doesn't look like the one that you saw coming up with Hopalong Cassidy, because you've got soldiers who transitioned to be the early settlers and guys who were guiding settlers through. So there's a series of different stories, each one probably 2 segments. But History Month, we go through, you do every week, you do a different one. But I just gave 7 segments in a 12-month or 52-week period, and there could be more. But it should be stories about character leader development. And I got enough other guys that I don't need to even talk about always soldiers. We can talk about science, technology, engineering, math. We could talk about the Blacks who are in the STEM Hall of Fame. We could talk about the sister who actually was the one that created the serum. You'll love this. The idea of antiviral serums in the 1870s, who was a former slave. And oh, by the way, the sister who was the one that led the COVID fix recently from University of North Carolina. This is how you let people, you give them the material. But see, to the point that I think Kevin and Keisha was hitting on, is that the story, we package it. We tell you what the story is going to be, and then the kids can say, this is how we'd like you to tell it. or this is how we like you to convey it. This is the media we like you to do. We like you to do it this time in a, can we do it in a narration? Can we got some kids who can color, draw, and make cartoons. Can you put voices behind them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Can you see, you got that. We got kids right now that says, we want to be the interviewers.
Yeah.
We want to interview you. I want to put some kids in front of the camera. I want to, this is Bernetta Gumble. Okay. She's gonna talk to you, and she's gonna talk, and she writes up her questions, and we help coach her through. And then the kids that are behind the camera that are doing the script, these kids, then they say, here's what you're gonna put together a run a show, because this is your show. And then we tell everybody that's what's going on. Then and then to make it really real, talk to them about the social media campaign that they're going to use to run to make sure that it gets the numbers they need to tell their story. Mm-hmm. How do they do that?
Right.
See, that's what I think, Kevin, you, Keisha, because that's all of y'all's skill set. Me, I'm just going to be a soldier. Right. And I'm going to give you.
Yeah, but you're also, so I love so to me, what it sounds like, and that's where it feels intuitively for me, it wants to become, and in general, you're saying it, Keisha said it, Kevin said it, Clarence, you said it. Look, that corridor, and I know, Keisha, you actually said Vermont Slauson, but then also Crenshaw. So that's another distinction that would be good to understand. But that has become kind of a default center for African-American heritage and life in Los Angeles, one of the centers, but a primary center. It makes sense to be a place that is homage to the stories and the correct stories of the past, but also a place to launch into the future, but owning the stories and telling the stories. To your point, Keisha, if it's helping businesses that are vet-owned, or if they're not vet-owned, but vet-owned, and we help you tell your story, because here's the thing. There's definitely the business aspect, nuts, bolts, widgets, as you said, but a big part of commerce is how you present yourself to people, to potential customers, but to the world. We help you tell those stories, and then we have to get another generation of kids understanding that science so that they can be impactful.
Yeah, and Keisha, my interest in the military wasn't, I didn't serve in the military. I literally found inspiration and pride in learning about these stories and learning about these people. Okay. And this is what is priceless to me. And I don't think that any kid who has ever been exposed to this information would probably say, oh, well, what can I do with that? I mean, because they can't do anything with it other than try to draw their own conclusion from it about the fact that things that have maybe hidden from them or they just didn't know could spark something that could become somebody like me. Because again, I have no ties to the military other than the fact I'm fascinated that I didn't know that this information and these people did all these things. So I'm just hoping a small percentage of them will figure out how to take this research and the inspiration that I got and find something else that can spark them to do maybe their own truth telling or storytelling about things that they can learn from. So that's what my authenticity is, that I want to be able to tell stories and help them tell stories that they then can take and find their own truth. So,
yeah, I love what Clarence brought up too about this museum, and sometimes museums are just the retrospective of what was, but what they also do is they can bring a sense of gaining what you haven't had if you're always learning about your past through the eyes of the conqueror or the colonist. And I love that you were saying that, General Bray, because the truth is we still have to do a better job of snatching those stories back. And we tell it ourselves, and we're not looking for you to help us tell them. We're going to tell them, and we're going to show our kids how to tell them so they own their stories in the future.
Right.
And that you got inspiration, Kevin, that's a great testament.
Right. Well, and one of the things I found in the inspiration is that a lot of people told me, oh, it's great that you have these stories and there's great ideas and there's marketing around it, But they said, I can't do anything with that because I don't own the rights to that material. I don't have the ability to access it in a way where I can commercialize it.
Well, I don't
do.
know. Yeah, yeah.
I do. For the gentleman we're talking about, who's 75 years of age, whose health is failing him, I worked with him 25 years ago. Somehow we've come back around, and he says, man, I need your help. And for him to say that, it took a lot of pride. He needs the help, and that's what General Bray and I are doing to help him find a home for these artifacts. The collection, the physical artifacts have been appraised at $12 million. The photo collection is priceless. 3,000 glass plate negatives of period piece photography.
Oh, wow.
And so we have these artifacts that can travel to be installations, mini installations, and setting up and staging anything that we can show anybody, the banks or anybody within the Crenshaw Corridor, what we're talking about. I mean, it's all great digital, but when people see, we can bring these people back alive who came westward from the south, and many of them landed in Crenshaw, in the Crenshaw Corridor.
Okay. Hey,
You know, can I say something on that? Sorry.
Please, go ahead, go ahead.
I mean, I'm just, you know, like I said, I'm just coming into this, but I'm taking a little bit of everything, what everyone's saying, and it just really feels, to me, it's a real vet stories encapsulated in a building that really, you know, pays homage historically, like the museum, but then there are also the documentaries that come out of that, which is the larger, bigger picture, but it's really telling real vet stories, past, present, and future. And it also, you know, the touch point is educating a workforce, and, you know, it's through production, which is the production part of it. It's education and becoming a service provider with all of those together, with students and the vets, and, you know, you can touch all of those lives together. I mean, to me, it's really just that. It's a production, education, or school, and being a service provider that provides that information to all the, you know, the pertinent those places, with stored in a building that's, you know, a museum. But from the artifacts that you're getting from Vegas, that becomes these episodes in a documentary.
And Clarence, these artifacts from Northern California, they haven't gotten to Vegas or any place yet. But these are, I have a large part of these artifacts in my house right now. So what I'm saying is that we can create a research center somewhere in the Crenshaw Corridor where some of these artifacts can be touched, seen, and even smelled by students, faculty, so that we can start to get them socialized with all the things that they can then, you know, try and create their own iteration of these documentaries, short stories. And that becomes what I believe is what this is really all about, is giving people their own opportunity to interpret and research the stuff for their own stories. But it's the vault, it's a library and a laboratory of things that you cannot find anywhere else in the country, I believe.
I love that also what we have is a resource here on this coast, because there's definitely, like other museums, what we have here is we have the LA Hollywood community, and we have a lot of people that we could connect to come in and to mentor and to help and to produce. I mean, basically, I like the idea of it is also a production center.
Yeah,
We're telling all these stories, as well as telling, but lifting up.
Right.
There's a lot of people coming into this Crenshaw Corridor to make money off of real estate, whatever. But it's the ability to be a watchdog, because production does that. We can be watchdogs, we can police, we can also inform. We have the ability to make sure that it goes the right way instead of the wrong way that some of these opportunity zones go.
Right. So Keisha, what I have as a takeaway for everybody, I'll send everybody what General Bray and this gentleman's name is Anthony Powell. Again, he manages the largest collection of rare, unique documentation, artifacts that are 3D objects photography that we're going to start a campaign to expose these things that need a home and may need many homes, to allow us to make sure before it's too late to give this an opportunity for everybody to draw their own conclusions, especially people in Crenshaw. And the thing that we talked about thematically is looking at the Buffalo Soldier story and the westward expansion to California.
Mm.
And the gentleman who happens to live in San Jose, he went to USC, and somehow I believe he lived on 63rd and something in the South LA area. So he can tell you about his grandfather, who lived to be 107 years of age, who died in 1967, was original Buffalo Soldier, who took all this photographs.
Oh, wow.
He died in LA. He died in that 63rd area. So why did he come to LA? Who was there when he was there? Those are the things that we could be talking about, other than just all the dead people that we have artifacts for, because those are the stories we want to bring back alive. Why was LA a place for all these veterans and all these soldiers, Buffalo Soldiers, original ones, not just Tuskegee Airmen? Why'd they come to LA?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
General Bray, I know Keisha's got to leave us, but General Bray, do you want to cap us off with anything before I start sending out some material about what we plan on doing virtually for Veterans Day?
Say that again?
Well, while he's on mute, what we've been thinking about now, we were thinking about doing something on Veterans Day, because that would allow us to get everybody's attention. Well, I'm thinking that if everybody takes the day off for a holiday, they won't want to sit in front of any laptop or TV watching anything. So I'm thinking if we do something either the day before, Wednesday, where we have the schoolhouses and captive audiences, we could do something that Wednesday to have the discussion about the way ahead and discovering the way to connect all these people to this material in an episodic way. That Wednesday, November 10th would be an opportunity to do a virtual production that would allow us to reach people from Crenshaw all the way across the country, and reach all the veteran organizations and let them know about what we're doing here in Crenshaw.
You know, Clarence had a really good idea when we talked earlier about basically breaking that event down into specifically segments of people like General Bray, basically taking, telling their story and understanding, whether it's their personal story or their understanding of stories before them that motivated them, and then showing some of those. It's a presentation to show some of the items that you have, but basically it's illustrations, actual artifacts, whatever it is, poetry, whatever, and weaving those stories together that then culminate in a panel discussion with potentially a Q&A.
Yeah, at the end. And those could be different rooms going in, and people can, you know, it's almost like a little promo of each, you know, 5 different vets. And then in the end, they're all in a panel discussion at the end. And we can put them all in one, you know, they're all in their one room with their promo and some of their memorabilia around them. And then in the end, that and I would think you want to promote what you're doing, you know, this, you know, this.
And Clarence, if I can, with the time we have remaining, has anybody not seen this documentary For Love of Liberty? Raise your hand if you've never seen it. Okay, Clarence, Ed, Keisha, have you seen it? I think Keisha's gone, but
No, I'm still here, but I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, so I'm just going to play a couple of minutes of it, because I was a producer.
You don't need to, Kevin.
Yeah, Kev, you're good. Just send the
Okay.
link, but then
Okay.
we want to, let's respect, like, because we're at 4:04 right now.
Okay, all right. So I will send. So if everybody gets a chance, so we don't have to start at the beginning. We have an NAACP Image Award, Outstanding Documentary. We run the Producers Guild Award. It's at its 10-year anniversary.
As an educational tool, or there's a 35-minute and a 45-minute version that takes the participation of Americans from start to finish. I've already narrated this with the folks in the Smithsonian. I've done it at the LBJ Library. I've done it with different places with the authors and others to go forward. And that goes in there. This is a video that he's putting up right now. That's a video when I was retiring that came from my school they put together for me at UCM. So you can look at these videos and you can take what you want to and extract them. It is completely okay to do that. You ain't gotta fight through titling or anything.
Right.
This first one actually, Love and Liberty, actually we beat out Spike Lee for best documentary. That's what's amazing because nobody has even seen it. We had to fight to get it produced. Colin Powell, Halle Berry and Colin Powell narrated, not narrated, but they actually comment through it. It has 57 actors and actresses who volunteered their voices to get this documentary done.
Wow.
That list of all of the people that contributed their voices is impressive. Pretty impressive.
So without even doing that, folks, that just tells you that you got some material to play with. You've got some material to play with, and then you can make your own stuff by getting leaders, not leadership, but veterans to do the things you want to. And Tony Powell has similar things that he has done at Harvard. But these things, and some of this information is just dead. It's not there. Nobody else has seen it. It's been in academic circles.
Right. And General Bray, if I can, I'll lose this point. This film for Love of Liberty, had not been for General Bray, it will have never seen the light of day. We took it to the ad agency for the U.S. Army. They couldn't bill against it. They couldn't exploit it. They said no way. I took it to a colonel who got it to General Bray, and the rest was history. It got the funding. It got to PBS, and there it went to kind of die because a lot of our folks don't watch PBS. And the business plan was to make sure that it was marketed through DVDs, but technology got us because everybody started recording it and didn't need DVDs anymore.
Who has the rights to it now?
Joe Bray, do you know?
I'm here. I'm just saying this is something that you can look at and play with. And we've talked about the ideas, but the real work is where Keisha and Lamera and the others have already talked. Let's now take this and figure out both the real mechanics of how you want to do it, how you want to use it. You got plenty of material. Now, really say this is not what we can do. This is what we want to do and are going to do. And then we're going to use these kids in this way. And by the way, one of the things you can say is, look, guys, you can go to the kids and tell them, here are the material that you have. How do you want to tell this story? You know, especially if they've done one or two, give them the freedom to figure it out and say, reach your folks, reach America.
Sure.
And one of the things I wanted to say, in the timeline, in the news cycle, there's always something to relate to something that General Bray can topic on, like what happened with the firing or the resignation of John Gruden, and all the things that even preceded with the NFL with Colin Kaepernick. General Bray can speak on these things that have happened and these things that will happen in the future that we have not learned enough lessons about. We don't have enough knowledge about.
Okay, that's interesting.
And so, you know, when he talked about Colin Kaepernick, and had he known enough information about blood and treasure and what the flag stood for, he may not have done what he did. He might have taken another tactic. But because we don't know, and we're very protective when people are trying to step on our Black pride, we react in ways where we don't act like we even know what it is that we have.
Yeah, I mean, it's not typically an integrated response, right? But we can get there. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I'm with you on that.
But so literally what I want to do is make sure that you guys can, you know, have what you can to create a center, whether it be physical or virtual, on Veterans Day to help us build a beachhead, using a military term, so that people can
Nice.
start to see how we can, from top to bottom, make sure that everybody has a voice and a piece of what we're doing here. And it'll be West Coast, it'll be Crenshaw, and that's what I wanted JP Morgan Chase to help us with, is to try and make sure that we had some infrastructure to start with. And if we can find partners with Keisha or anybody else, that's what we're looking for. It's maybe not general, it's maybe very too specific for some people, but it's what we can control, what we own and manage.
Yeah, we just have to narrow, like biting off enough and not too much for
There
a
you go.
kickoff event. You know, a kickoff event has to be very, very targeted and digestible for the audience, you know, and then with some calls to action that are achievable based on,
Right.
know.
You guys as the marketeers, I mean, I'm the passion guy, Gino Bray's the authentic person. Keisha is absolutely the person who can collect the political will. And all the other people who can fit in somewhere, would love to have them and start the discussion about all the things we can curate and manage so we get the assets in the hands of the people who can showcase them to the people who can touch them and feel them.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So
Okay.
I don't know. I don't have
I
anything
mean,
else
I
more to
just-
say. But go ahead, Clarence. I don't have anything more to say.
I mean, I love this whole conversation because I mean, it just hits, and I'm just grabbing from each, you know, little bit of from every single person that's been talking. I mean, I just really see, you know, in the big picture is really, you know, a center of history for vets that actually will speak beyond the military
Yeah.
to others.
Right.
And so, you know, this center for production is also education and a service provider that allows for vets and students and teachers to take advantage of or gain from these real vet stories. And you know, I really I love that you have these documentaries. So you know, I just think that it's a breeding ground for two tracks, you know, documentaries based on, you know, real documentaries based on real stories that are longer format that can be part of this whole thing. But I love with Arnold Bragg, what you're saying, that hits the point of past. But we can also, like you're saying, in the news cycle, there's the present. We can talk about what's going on in the present. But then what will the students do with it? What will somebody, you know, I'm going to look at Facebook. I'm going to look at, you know, television. But who's going to do the future? And how you take those same stories and put them on TikTok, put them on Instagram, you know.
Exactly.
That's good.
This just really hones everything. It will hit every single, it's basically a building, museum, history center, you know, that will work on the documentaries, short-term, long-term, and then short-term training and education, and even educating the veterans. They can become teachers, they can tell their own stories. And then it becomes a service provider for vet-owned businesses or even businesses within the community. But then you're hitting all the points. You have students, you have teachers, you have vets, and it also talks about the past, the present, and the future. I mean, I think it's and then tell that same story in your you know, your event that, you know, Ed was talking about. And you know, it's a stepping off point for you to get money.
If you guys will indulge me, this is something I shared with Anthony Powell, who's the curator and collector of all these artifacts and photographs. But he had one thing in particular that he's really proud of, is the African-American military musician, the Buffalo Soldier musician. And he gave me some of the images, and I created like a little 2-minute music video out of it. So I wanted to share this with you because,
You know, hey Kev, yeah, I feel like Kev, let's do this.
That's another
Let's
story.
button it, and then I think the key is there's a lot of takeaways from this discussion, actionable items and takeaways.
Okay.
I feel like we could spend a little time, not this time right now, but let's do some sort of write-up, like notes that can go to everyone.
Well,
Let's have some action items.
I don't have anything more to say. I'm just willing to be as flexible and adjustable to whatever it is I can help you guys do to help us.
I think we have to do a debrief, Kev, after this. So let's,
Sure.
yeah.
Okay.
I think.
All right. So any General Brady, things you want to say to take us away? I think Keisha had to leave. Anything else you have to say, General Brady?
I'm gonna yield to Keisha because she said some things at the very beginning that I thought were spot on.
I think Keisha, I think she had to drop off. She had a 4 o'clock dead stop.
And your creatives, because that's what they are in Lemur and Clarence.
It's Ed, yeah. Lemur Ed came from Lemur, so it's Ed and Clarence.
So I'm going to yield to you guys. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I mean, Lemire, all three of us have been, we've been working together for 20 years. So, I mean, we just, Lemire, why isn't Lemire on this call?
Man,
Where's
he's
Ed,
doing
I
his
apologize
thing, man.
for calling you Lemur, Ed, so please forgive me.
No, that's okay. It's we're all kind of like, working
Yeah,
together.
yeah, we're
It's
all
all
together.
good. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Morphed into one, yeah.
We'll figure it out. But I think that that's good that we all understand that we're putting together the right ingredients to make this happen. And so I think that I love that everyone is about being proactive and pushing it forward. I think that what we're also doing right now is making sure that we just don't run down the road scattershot. We need to do something that we set ourselves up for success in what we're trying to do, and that's why I'm saying, Kevin, that I think probably what we need to do is digest this conversation. And like General Bray saying, Keisha said a lot of things, the General said a lot of things, Clarence, you, myself, I think we have to refine, hone down, and be very, very centered and focused on the next steps, not take on too much, but build on it. And then let's do a broader plan too, that we can review what these guys are all strategists too. Like the General says, he's been in the game a long time. We need to make sure that we optimize his time when we have him with something refined based on all these meetings we're having. And then the same with Keisha and everyone else. Let's try to. Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna play my role as a cheerleader, and I do have some.
Oh, you're more than a cheerleader, brother. We'll talk about that.
Kevin, you're the director.
Yes, sir.
Well, no, actually,
you're the director.
I'm the producer. Ed is the director.
Okay.
Well,
Ed's the director. He's got them skills.
The point is, brother, you got a major role to play. And so we're going to be leaning on you a lot, brother, because you know.
I'm here, man. This is my life. I do this every day. All of my efforts right now are trying to make this pilot and get off the ground with something. And again, I lied. There's one last thing.
I've got to go, Pam. Yep.
Okay,
So
right,
please
Joe
forgive
Brady.
me.
Joe Brady, one last thing.
I was getting dressed while we were talking.
Okay.
You did. You completely changed. You got your whole outfit on. I was impressed.
One last question. Can we find out from Frank Martin if we can rebuild the website that's been down for the last 8 months? Okay, he's gone. Okay, so literally, you asked the question about who owns the rights to the film. I don't know if the Army who paid for it or the Department of Defense who paid for some part of the rights. I don't know who owns the rights. So we need to research that. But the website is down. And
so Kev, what I feel like, and I'm sorry, brother, I don't want to, just want to make sure that we're all maximizing, because we're all doing our day jobs, right? So just, if I can, what I would say is we need a roadmap, which I think is a little different than the roadmap you've had. But I believe you've said multiple times on some of these calls, you need help with that, developing that roadmap.
That roadmap, absolutely. Yeah, because right now it's a dead end right now.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I think that what you did is you sparked and you jump-started something. And hey, look, man, that's the process. It's the creative process. It's the production process. It develops and it evolves, and you bring in more people that actually help get it to where ultimately we're going to look at it and go, damn, beautiful, love it. But it starts here in the trenches, and we're just putting the basic ingredients in the big old gumbo pot, and it takes a minute to get it to where we can start ladling it out and everybody can eat it and enjoy it. So I love what Clarence, thank you, Clarence, for joining us today, man. You brought those were really good insights, great insights. What I'm gonna do with you, Kevin, and Clarence is already familiar with this, I'm going to share with you kind of where we ultimately got to with our opportunity zone plan. We've left off for months now. I'll be transparent on that. We just haven't come back to it. We've just been all trying to work, survive, make money, do whatever. But I think that this is a good time to revisit it. And then what I'll also do is share a plan that another guy that Clarence just met with, that we took a lot of information from. He has an opportunity zone fund and business in Cleveland, Ohio. And it'll help you get a sense of what Keisha was saying. Someone like a Keisha needs to see something like what I'm going to send you, even though they're kind of still being evolved, but that's what they're looking for. Well, so I'm going to send those to you. Take a look at those, plan, and then we can wrap tomorrow about that.
That's what she's looking for. She's looking for some iteration of something that allows her to shake red pen to and say, yeah, I like that, I can do that, or I don't know.
That's right. That's right. And you know, we got to love and respect that there are people that, because the truth is, the people that respond are the people that will help. The people that don't, you can forget it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we want to applaud that she was on. She had her daughter, all this stuff in the general. Typically, they're like, I can't, I'm sorry, next time.
Hey, I have to jump.
Yeah, Clarence. No worries, dude. We can catch up later. Thank you, man.
It's great meeting you, and we'll hopefully we'll be talking soon, and we'll be moving down the road.
I'm trying to make everybody family now. Okay, so yeah, let's do.
So Kevin, I'm going to email those to you.
Okay.
And let's talk tomorrow.
Okay. All right.
Go ahead, Clarence. Go. Okay. You're good to go. You're good to go.
All right. Take care.
All right. So let me send you those, and what I want you to do, brother, is just check those out. Please do not share with anyone else. I'm trusting that. Okay.
Not even with the general Lakeisha, right? This is
no one, please.
Okay.
I'm just for your eyes only, so that we have a context to talk. If we're talking opportunity zone, I want to share these with you, so you kind of get a sense of when she's talking about that, that's what she's talking about. And then the general, I'm sure he's not that familiar with opportunity zones, but he gets it. He's a man in organizations, from organizations. He totally gets the game. We all get how the game works, right? So let me share those with you, brother, and then let's talk tomorrow.
Okay.
And then I think you'll have a better sense of kind of like, this is what we have to put together. Something like that, a presentation, deck, document, whatever. Obviously, the one-off event that you're talking about is separate from this bigger plan.
Right.
But the one-off event has better context, understanding it wants to lead to this bigger plan. All right, brother. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, man. I'll be on standby. So you're gonna send it via email?
I am. I'm probably gonna have to give you links to download. Okay.
Okay, no problem.
All right, I'll send it through email, but you're gonna probably have to download.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ed.
All right. Appreciate you, brother.
All right, man. All right, bro.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye.